is Act of Worship, your source for commentary and discussion on worship, theology, and culture. I'm your host, Dr. Jonathan Michael Jones. Hello and welcome to the Act of Worship podcast. This is Dr. Jonathan Michael Jones, and we are covering today Psalm 32. Let's get to work. Psalm 32, 11 verses, fairly short, certainly compared to the previous Psalm, Psalm 31, which was a lengthy one, which is why I did do that one as a chant. And here we are at Psalm 32. The title is A Maskil of David. That is probably a type of musical or a liturgical term, a maskil. People really aren't sure, again, like many things that we've covered here. So let's read through this. Psalm 32. It is a penitential psalm containing some distinctive wisdom language. Beginning at verse 1. Blessed is the one whose transgression is forgiven, whose sin is covered. Blessed is the man against whom the Lord counts no iniquity, and in whose spirit there is no deceit. For when I kept silent, my bones wasted away, through my groaning all day long. For day and night your hand was heavy upon me. My strength was dried up, as by the heat of summer. I acknowledged my sin to you, and I did not cover my iniquity. I said, I will confess my transgressions to the Lord, and you forgave the iniquity of my sin. Therefore let everyone who is godly offer prayer to you at a time when you may be found. Surely in the rush of great waters they shall not reach him. You are a hiding place for me. You preserve me from trouble. You surround me with shouts of deliverance. I will instruct you and teach you in the way you should go. I will counsel you with my eye upon you. Be not like a horse or a mule without understanding, which must be curbed with bit and bridle, or it will not stay near you. Many are the sorrows of the wicked, but steadfast love surrounds the one who trusts in the Lord. Be glad in the Lord and rejoice, O righteous, and shout for joy, all you upright in heart. Okay, so let's get into this. Psalm 32. The psalmist begins immediately by discussing iniquity. Blessed is the one whose transgression is forgiven, whose sin is covered. And then in verse 2, blessed is the man against whom the Lord counts no iniquity. There are different words for sin used in the first two verses to bring out the many aspects of man's rebellion against God. Paul cites the first two verses of this psalm in Romans 4, 6 through 8, in describing the grace of God's forgiveness. In verse 3, my bones wasted away. The psalmist here perceives sin's consequences in his body, and how so many of us know of the dire consequences of sin. This is not merely poetic language, although sin does not always have immediate physical consequences, but there certainly are consequences. And sometimes we hear that and it just goes through one ear and out the other, but there are consequences. I'm one who's experienced consequences of sin, and some of you have too. Verse 4. For day and night your hand was heavy upon me. My strength was dried up as by the heat of the summer. And some translations, the Hebrew really says my vitality was changed. My strength was dried up. Guilt immobilized the psalmist here. Used him up, spent him. Verse 5, I acknowledged my sin to you. He praises God's willingness and authority to forgive. Verse 6, let everyone who is godly offer prayer to you, or the saints. As I discussed in chapter 31, in verse 23, where he says, love the Lord, all you saints. And it's formed from the Hebrew word hesed, or steadfast love, and it's understood as God's kindness towards those in covenant with him. Same thing here. Those who are godly, those who are saints, who are in covenant with God. Surely in the rush of great waters they shall not reach him. Elsewhere, this is translated many waters in other psalms. Psalm 18, as we've already covered, 16, Psalm 29, 3, Psalm 10. So we see this as well. In verse 8, I will instruct you. He uses language found in wisdom sections of the Old Testament. Proverbs, for example. And God promises to direct the psalmist in the way of his covenant, in the way of righteousness. And then he uses some imagery here in verse 9. Be not like a horse or a mule. Horses and mules do the will of their masters only under compulsion. Listen to this from Proverbs 26:3. A whip for the horse, a bridle for the donkey, and a rod for the back of fools. The righteous should obey out of love and gratitude for their God and out of worship for who he is. So a very short psalm here, certainly compared to the previous podcast, it's short. Made an excellent, simple, and just a simple and beautiful melody for this psalm. And so listen to this. I hope you are blessed by it. Here is Psalm 32. Thank you for listening today to the Active Worship Podcast. This is Dr. Jonathan Michael Jones.
What blessedness belongs to him who has forgiven been. For when transgressions have been cleared and covered is his sin. Blessed is the one for whom the Lord counts no iniquity, and in whose spirit is no taint of insincerity. I languished silent in my sin, my days were filled with groans. On me your hand pressed day and night, and he dried up my bones. My sin I then confessed to you, not hiding guiltiness. I said I will before the Lord transgressions now confess. Then you released me from my sin and took its guilt away. And therefore while you may be found, let all the godly pray. They'll be not harmed by rising floods. In you I hide in peace. You keep me safe, surrounding me with songs of my release. Instruction I will give to you and teach the way to go. My watchful eye will guide your steps, my counsel you will know. Be not like senseless horse or mule, which if you would subdue, you must with bit and bridle hold to bring him close to you. How many griefs the wicked earns as part of his reward, but covenant love surrounds the one whose trust is in the Lord. Be glad and shout, you righteous ones.